Today is about Ten Hag, and we are going to start a little mini-series of predicting and sort of merging in what we've seen briefly in those pre-season games and creating what I think next season's 4-2-3-1 is going to look like for Manchester United. Now, I will say we are going to include the dedicated and confirmed signings and maybe a couple of rumoured signings that I think will actually happen. So we are going to put them into the team to clarify that before we go into any sort of tactic testing. I want to make that very clear. If you do enjoy this idea, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe. And if this gets 60 likes, I'll do the exact same video with Arsenal, Liverpool and the top 6. So if it does hit that, I'll make it happen. Let's get into the tactic testing. I will say with Manchester United, I am going to bring in Xerxes, confirmed, Euro, confirmed, Ugarte, good as confirmed, and De Ligt, it is in talks but probably will get over the line. So those are going to be your 4 players that are going to be added to this team. And let's start with a Premier League win, shall we? I mean, honestly, this is so refreshing to see with Manchester United. We come out and win 34 games, 2 draws and just the 2 losses. Rasmus Højlund outclassed Xerxes, got into the team on every occasion, 41 goals, Bruno contributing 27, Højlund, Fernandes and Rashford first, second and third. And it is really nice to see Rashford and Garnacho both perform, both together, 20 and 18 assists, and Onana picking up the most amount of clean sheets. And what I will say is it's a very convincing season, 120 goals compared to Liverpool with 91, most points per game, which is quite, I mean, we absolutely took over, really beating, obviously, Liverpool, Villa, I don't even know where City are, they're on the decline, most shots for, most clean sheets and the fewest conceded. Possession wise, we were okay. 5th place, 59%. It's not too bad. It's not the best compared to Liverpool. Don't know how they've really got that amount of possession, but hey ho. But we got enough possession to get the job done. And of course, because we are outscoring everyone, that's all that matters. And the last time I checked, United fans want to see goals, goals, goals. So hopefully this tactic appeals to you. But going over to the data hub, of course, in the league alone, it's going to be 3.16 goals per game, only 0.61 conceded, over 22.2 shots a game, a great pass completion, and an okay tackle win ratio. Again, that could be a little bit better if we're being really harsh on ourselves, but overall, a very, very good set of stats. Now, going to the competitions, we don't stop there. We go and win the Champions League 4-2 over Real Madrid. The FA Cup, we also win 2-1 against Chelsea. And the Carabao Cup, we beat Tottenham 3-0, with Rasmus Højlund again getting the job done. Now, what I will say is, this is a season I think any United fan would absolutely dream of. So if you are a United fan, be sure to leave a like on the video and subscribe, and hopefully that will mean this ain't going to happen next season, but I'm hoping we can at least finish top 4, win another English trophy maybe. Let me know what you think in the comments, but let's go through and watch some highlights because I want to see these boys in action. To watch this 4-0 game against Palace, purely because there are a lot of goals in this game, Garnacho feeds Rasmus Højlund inside of 8 minutes, a great start to the game. Just after half-time now, Mainu finds Garnacho through the middle into Højlund, and that was some touch to bring it forward and go through in behind, as now Højlund becomes the creator into Rashford, who's going to take on everyone apparently in the middle, and it is a great give and go between him and Højlund. It worked every single game of the season, and Casemiro wraps up a very comfortable game where Crystal Palace didn't register a single shot. We had 71% possession, 24 shots, 11 on target. Come on. We're really testing the Croatian League, so I thought let's go and have some fun. So we are going to test with Dynamo in the Croatian League, a very powerful team over there. Now we do win 31 of the games and draw the other 5, going invincible, a 96 goal difference as well. We've got 2 plays when it comes to the first goals being scored, joint first, 3 plays in the average rating, and also the top amount of assists and the most clean sheets. So as you can imagine, when you're playing as the best team, you're going to get the best results, and with a tactic like this, you don't just get it by a little bit. 65% of the ball and 88% pass completion. In fact, we win absolutely everything apart from the most tackles, which of course would be impossible to win because we've got so much of the ball. So that's a really good stat line to not even really worry about. But most goals, most possession, fewest conceded, everything you'd potentially want to see on your screens, to be honest. And going over to that data hub, we are going to go and have a little look. It's going to be 3.25 goals per game, 0.58 when it comes to the conceded, over 24.5 shots a match, and 88% pass completion, and a very good tackle win ratio. Just goes to show that this tactic is very versatile, can play in the Premier League, can play in the Croatian League, and of course, I've set up some tougher tasks as well. But we also went on to win a couple of other things. We are going to win the Croatian Cup against Lokomotiva. I'm going to butcher that. I'm going to butcher that name, but 6-0 over both legs. And also the Super Cup we are going to win in 2-0 fashion as well. And to be honest with you, not a bad display in the Europa League. We got battered in the Champions League. I say battered, not as bad as this team down here. We get all the way to the semis in the Europa League, which is not too bad. Unfortunately, unfortunately Liverpool are always going to be a little bit too hard. Have we got any Turkish viewers in the house? Because we are going to take Rizespor, a team predicted to finish in 15th place, and turn them into not Turkish second division, Turkish Super League champions with only one loss across 38 games, which is a very, very, very strong season, because there are some good teams in here. Galatasaray, Fenerbahce, Besiktas, Trabzonspor, some really good teams, but we've embarrassed a lot of them. And as you can see, the stats also go in our favour. 36, 25, 20 goals being scored, 23, 20 and 19 when it comes to first, second and third with the most assists. We didn't pick up the most clean sheets, which probably is to be expected because Fenerbahce's goalkeeper Livakovic is an absolute joke in this game, a very good goalkeeper. But we outscored a lot of them. We had more shots than all of them, the fewer shots against. Fenerbahce dominated possession, to be fair to them, but fewest conceded, most goals, most points. You can't really complain. And of course, to the date hub, we are going to be seeing 4.42 goals a game. Now, I will say some of the sides in here are very weak when it comes to defending, so maybe this stat line is a little bit fabricated in terms of picking out the hardest league to go and score a goal in. This is not one of them, in my opinion, so I would say this tactic averages around about a 3.5 sort of vibe. Not the most, but very controlling, gets the job done sort of approach. 0.82 goals conceded a game, 21.87 shots per game, a great pass completion, and a very good tackle win ratio. And it's not the only thing we managed to do. We also win the Turkish Cup against Galatasaray in 4-0 fashion. And when you're beating teams like Galatasaray in these games, you know you've got a tactic that is working really well, as we do actually have a very dramatic game. 2 goals inside of 54 minutes, and from this point onwards, I wanted to full send it because we won the league already. I thought, let's switch to the attacking tactic, and this is why you switch to attacking variants, because we end up winning this game after this goal in staggering 4-1 fashion. You can't complain. And lastly, third place predicted Troyes, obviously over in the French League 2. They've got some decent players, it's no secret, but you know what? Still a fantastic season. Nearly going invincible. 2 games do separate that being official. We've got Repart coming in with 42 goals. We really did spoon feed him all of the goals, to be honest with you. We've got 3 players in the average rating, 2 players when it comes to the most assists, and also the most clean sheets going in our favour. Now, team stats, fewest conceded, most clean sheets, most possession at 62%, best pass completion, most shots, fewest shots against, the most goals, and the most points per game. A really, really, really strong season. If we go to the competitions, we also are going to lift that French Cup, who is going to be against, when that loads, against Brest in a 4-0 win. So, an easier final, but as they say in football, you can only play what's in front of you, and we demolished what was in front of us. Now, going over to the data hub, it is going to be looking like this. 3.55 goals a game, 0.68 conceded, over 20.9 shots a match, a great pass completion, and a very high tackle win ratio. This tactic, it's one for the ages. But now, of course, over to your personal favourite part of the video, the tactic breakdown. If you're enjoying back home so far, be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. And if you want to get all 3 of these tactics today in one simple download, you want them on mobile, you want them on console, you want my rebuild files, you want the rebuild tactics, you also want one-on-one tactical help and access to this month's massive £375 giveaway split between 5 people. You can come over and join the Patreon, where you're going to be joining nearly 4,700 people. So there's so much being offered on that page. There's so much content that you don't see in these videos as well. Come over and get involved, and if you're a true FM fan, you're gonna love it, because I set you guys some challenges as well. So come over and get involved. Hopefully I'll be seeing you there shortly. But let's go through and talk about this tactic. So this tactic actually is going to be based off a create your own style, and you guessed it, it is going to be a 4-2-3-1. So we are going to flip that mentality to positive as well, and the first thing we're going to do is we are going to drag these players up here, because it's not going to be a deep 4-2-3-1, it's going to be more of a central 4-2-3-1. The goalkeeper is not going to be a goalkeeper, although he is. He's going to be a sweeper keeper who is simply going to be set to attack. Onana, he's got to be set to attack. Now, when it comes to the wing-backs, we are going to go on the right-hand side with a supportive wing-back. Of course, he is going to have some instructions. Those are going to be set to run wide and also tackle harder. So not the toughest things to understand. 2 instructions there. Obviously, we do play with quite attacking wing-backs in the likes of Dalot when he plays, and Luke Shaw when he plays. They can get forwards and they can help out attacks. So make sure you are giving them the freedom to do that. If you are playing with someone like Aaron Wan-Bissaka, who might not be as good at going forward, although he's okay on this game, you could potentially even have him on defend. So it's all about what players you've got back at home. Now, going over to the 2 back centre-backs, we are going to have a ball-playing defender who is simply going to be set to defend, and it's pretty common knowledge Martinez, when he plays, is a bit of a demon. He likes to come out and put a challenge in, and therefore we are going to have both of them with the additional tackle harder as well, to clarify that. But on the left-hand side, you need to make sure you have got him as a stopper. Now, there's several players that do this in real life. A lot of teams do it where one centre-back will push out first. Pretty much every team have somewhat of an organisation like that. But when you see Martinez play, he is the player who always does it. So that is why we've got him on there. And the wing-back, when it comes to the left, is actually going to be exactly the same as the right. So a wing-back on support, on run wide, and of course, tackle harder as well. Now, we could make these very much more attacking, and we do in the attacking tactics. So for the default one, we are going to keep it exactly like this. Now, on the right-hand side of the midfield, we are going to go with a ball and midfield player who is going to be set to support, and he is going to have some instructions that is going to be set to dribble less. We are also going to have him on mark tighter as well. Now, the reason why I want him dribbling less is because essentially I want him to be a very safe option in the team. I want him to win the ball back as a ball winning midfield player should do, and then get the ball, be sensible with it, you know, don't go on any crazy runs, dribble less, pass side to side, let the other players do the freedom and they attack them, because we have got so many players in this team that can attack. I need one that is not focused on it at all. And next to him in the team, it is going to be that Kobbie Mainoo. We are going to tell him to get further forwards, tackle harder, and also mark tighter. So again, we are going to have another player joining the attack in certain elements of this game. And Kobbie Mainoo, he does it very, very well, doesn't he? He's got endless energy. He is by far my personal favourite player of the Euros. A very fun player to watch, alongside of obviously Yamal and things like that, and Williams. But Kobbie Mainoo, in my opinion, he outclassed Bellingham, and I'll say that, maybe a bit of bias, but in my opinion, he was better than Bellingham, and he was an absolute joy to watch. A very, very good player. Now, going over to the left, we are going to actually give Rashford what he wants and give him some game time, and, you know, hopefully this season we see a little bit more of a alive Rashford, should we say. Now, we are going to add some instructions. They are going to be consistent of shoot more often. We are going to tell him to also sit narrow and tackle harder. Now, the reason why we've got him on shoot more often on this side and on attack is because he is a very attacking player. He makes runs in behind, and also he does have a lot of shots. So again, this is not just a Rashford thing. This is very dependent on your team as well. If you have got an inside forward who has got a really good shoot and sort of stat line, make sure you're using it. If he hasn't, then don't have shoot more often on. But if you've got a winger or an inside forward, whatever you want to say, make sure you are using his strengths, because there's no point having a winger with 14, 15 finishing and never letting him have a crack at goal, because you're missing out on goals just by doing that. Now, on the right hand side, we are going to go with another inside forward who is going to be set to support. This is going to be your Garnacho, if anything, and he is going to be told to roam. We're going to have him on sit narrow, and we're also going to have him set to tackle harder. So again, more of the supportive winger. Now, I'm not saying these players can never shoot, because they do have shots. Garnacho scored a few goals, but we're not going to tell both of them to shoot more often. So obviously back home, you choose which winger has got, you know, the best shot, and to be honest, you can flip them around if needed as well. Now, in the midfield, sorry, we are going to go with the advanced playmaker who is going to be set to attack, and he's going to be quite a risk-taking player. He, of course, is going to be naturally dribbling more. He's going to naturally be taking more risks as well. We are going to have him on slightly more direct passing, roam, and also tackle harder. Now, the reason why I want a lot of risks being taken is because we still maintained a very good stat line when it comes to possession, an average stat line or slightly above average. Obviously, with the stronger teams, a really good stat line. And that's with playing like this. So I want the players to take risks, go and try and score goals. The last thing I want is a team that has a really big possession stat line but scores no goals, because that's boring. We want to score goals. We want to entertain. It's a Manchester United system. We need to be entertaining. And lastly, we are going to go with the complete forward, who is simply going to be set to attack. This is going to be your Xerxes or your Højlund, and he is going to be added on with shoot more often. And that's going to complete your default tactic, but let's go through the team instructions. And we are going to go off the positive mentality, and it is going to be the clean slate to clarify that. It is going to be fairly wide. We're going to pass into the space. We're focusing down the left and the right hand side, of course, while playing out from the back, because we do that quite a fair bit. The tempo is not going to be maxed out, but it is going to be set to slightly higher. Directness is going to be set to shorter. We are going to run at defence and also be more expressive. So we are a very, very attacking and exciting team to watch when we are playing like this, because when you've got Rashford, Garnacho, Bruno supplying, you've got Kobbie Mainoo running in behind as well with a box-to-box role. You got Xerxes, you got Højlund, you've got some very, very entertaining players to watch, and I'm hoping next season we really get to see this. Now, in transition, we are going to go with counter press, counter, distribute quickly, play to anyone across the back line while taking short goal kicks. So again, we're further reinvesting into that counter-attacking style, the direct approach, counter, get the ball moving quickly with the goalkeeper, counter press when we have not won the ball, and as you can see, wing backs, both of the midfield players, the front three and the striker are going to be countering, and that is going to be impossible to stop. Now lastly, out of possession, we are going to go with the higher defensive line. We're going to match it with the high pressing line of engagement much more often when it comes to the trigger press, and prevent short goalkeeper distribution. Now sometimes with this tactic I found myself still to be a little bit stagnant. We weren't scoring as many goals as what I needed, so I would recommend you also get this attacking tactic. Now you're not forced to join a Patreon, which is why I include them in the videos. For console and mobile it is a little bit different because obviously they're platforms I wouldn't usually play. I play them specifically to supply tactics. This I play all the time anyway, so on PC you can of course just copy them from the videos, but if you do want to show some love back to the channel and also make your day easier in one simple download, of course that is an option as well. But let's go through and talk about the attack and system. So it is going to be a sweeper keeper on attack, the wing back on the right and on the left, they get upgraded a fair bit. On support now, on take more risks, cross more often, dribble more, run wide, stay wider, and also tackle harder. So we really have almost pack-a-punched the wing backs and made them a lot more aggressive and a lot better when it comes to attacking. The ball playing defenders do remain exactly the same. The ball with a midfield player, he goes home. We introduce a Roman playmaker, on support, on tackle harder and mark tighter. The box to box remains exactly the same. The inside forward on the left and on the right now are going to both be on shoot more often. Again, only if your players have got the finishing. On the right, shoot more often, roam, sit narrow and tackle harder. On the left, shoot more often, sit narrow and tackle harder. The advanced playmaker does remain exactly the same, and the central forward, complete forward, also remains unchanged because you can't really make him any more attacking. Now again, based off a custom clean slate on the positive mentality, this is going to remain the same bang on in the middle. We're going to pass into the space, this time overlap left, overlap right, focus down the right and the left hand side while playing out from the back. The tempo is now going to be maxed out because that is the one thing we did not really consider and max out in that last tactic. The directness is going to remain the same on shorter. We're still going to go with low crosses, and these two, well, it's an attacking tactic. They can't really change. And in transition, we are going to actually go with pretty much the same, but with a little bit of a different twist. So we are going to counter press and counter. This time, we are simply going to take short goal kicks, and this means it can go to the centre backs, the playmakers, the fullbacks, the flanks. It's not as much of a, an organised sort of, you've got to pass here. We're trying to get goals, get the ball to the best option possible, and do it quickly as well. Make sure that happens, because you're trying to chase a goal at the end of the day. And lastly, out of possession, we are going to go with that much higher defensive line, the high pressing line of engagement, prevent short goalkeeper distribution, and lastly, of course, we are going to max out that trigger press to much more often. Now to defend those games out with, again, very important you are doing this, because the worst thing you can do is just think, I'll download one tactic and it will work for all games. I wish it was like that, but it really, really isn't. When I do these tests, I use every single tactic. I stop the holiday, change tactics. So for example, if I go and play City, most likely I'm going to use this one because it's a safe option and it will at least get me a point, stuff like that, It's pretty common sense. If you're playing as Luton, you're not going to go in with an attacking tactic against Man City. If you're playing as City, you're not going to go in with a defensive tactic against Luton. It's all about using the right tactic variant for that right game. Now going over to this tactic, the goalkeeper does remain the same. The wing back on the right and on the left are going to be very stripped down now, both to support, both on tackle harder, a ball playing defender, exactly the same on the left and the right hand side, always still having that stopper on the left to clarify. The ball when the midfield player comes back in on defend, on mark tighter. The box to box, nearly the same without get further forward, so tackle harder and mark tighter. The inside forward on the left and on the right are now going to be the same, both on sit narrow and tackle harder, with the attacking midfield player on support, on pass at shorter, roam, move into the channels and tackle harder. And to finish it off, the complete forward, who doesn't really have any change because I still want him scoring the goals he's scoring. So again, a custom clean slate, this time on the balance mentality. We are going to leave this in the middle. We're going to pass into the space. We are going to play out from the back with a much shorter passing directness, which means the tempo will drop to slightly lower, dribble less, and low crosses. So you can probably guess what's happening now. We are playing a much more possession-based game, and that really works well with the group of players we've got. Now in transition, we are going to counter press. We're not going to directly counter anymore because that's not really the focus point of the team or this tactic anymore. It's purely to seal us over the line, get that result we've so desperately needed. And we are going to take short goal kicks while we play to anyone across that back line. And lastly, we are going to go to out of possession. We're going to go with the standard defensive line, the high pressing line of engagement, and this is going to remain simply in the middle. So it is going to be quite a basic looking out of possession, but today I have supplied you with 3 Ten Hag tactics, which I personally think is going to look very much like what we're going to see next season. Now, when the Premier League season starts, he's played sort of 3 or 4 games, I will make an official Ten Hag 4-2-3-1, but for a little bit of fun, the hype to the build-up season, hopefully you enjoy this sort of concept of a video where if they bring any players in, I will bring them into the videos, not the rebuilds, into the videos, and obviously try and make a system around those players. Now, to be honest, the players I brought in didn't do anything special. Euro didn't really start a game, Xerxes didn't really play, Højlund was in there, Ugarte was quite average. In real life, I think a very different story is to be told. But if you have enjoyed today's video, regardless of that, be sure to leave a like and subscribe. And again, if you want to show any support back to me as a creator and allows me to carry on making these videos, you can come over and join the Patreon, where not only do you support me, but you get over 13 exclusive perks. And even if you don't like Football Manager, there's money giveaways every month, so it's more chance of winning the lottery. So, you know, come on over and get involved, and I'll see you in the next one.